The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
Welcome back, everybody, to Golf Talk Live. Again, I'm your host, and I'm really excited to have this gentleman joining me tonight. We actually had the pleasure of meeting a couple of years ago at the PGA Merchandising Show down in Orlando. Of course, I'm talking about Clay Simpson. He is the Logistics and Operations Manager at Skyhawk Technologies, which is the parent company of Sky Golf. And Clay has, well, with over 16 years at Sky Golf, he's also an avid golfer himself. His passion for the game shines through every product demo and on-course showcase he leads. His knowledge of GPS technology as an air weapons director in the United States Air Force, along with his love for the game, make him the perfect fit for Sky Golf. So, Clay, welcome to the show, and good to see you.
What a lead in.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
Well, also, thank you, for all that you do, and we get to see some great technology coming out of your neck of the woods, and you're the guy. And I got to share this really interesting story. I was telling, not on camera, of course, but I'm going to share it anyways now. 2 years ago when we met, I was sharing the story how I had this nifty little technology myself of this little 4K camera that I brought. It was on a gimbal. And I remember I had you go through some of the products that, I don't know if you recall, but
Right.
that you guys had at the booth. And I realized after that somehow I mistakenly had shut it off. And that whole segment when you went through all of the components of Sky Golf and all the great technology and the only thing I remember getting was I did a quick pan around of the booth and catching some of the other folks that were hanging around, and you and I were talking in the background. So I didn't make it this year, but next year I'm going to be there, and I know you'll be there. So I'm going to get you to go through all of that again, if you don't mind. And I promise to make sure that I've got the on switch and get it all on film. So
We can definitely go through it all again. Not a big deal.
So I know you enjoy doing that, but I thought to myself when I got back and I started looking at all the clips, because I shot a lot at the show, and that was the one I really wanted because you guys had so many wonderful products, and you took a lot of time with me to go through that. And I thought, I can't believe I was so stupid and didn't have that thing working right. So I should have probably had you operate it and just shine it on yourself and just do a selfie, if you will. But I want to thank you for coming on and joining me tonight on the show. So yeah. So were you always fascinated with technology? I mean, you guys are dealing with some cutting edge stuff, and I'm going to, before we get into specifics of products and things like that you guys have, was that something that was always a peak interest of yours?
Yeah. Even back in my Air Force days, I was on a lot of contract award teams where we would go test new technology and stuff like that. So it's always been kind of a passion to be kind of on the tip of the spear, so to speak, of
Yeah.
some technology out there. And then when I got the chance to go to work for Sky Caddie, um, I'd never even heard about GPS in golf at that point,
Right.
because they were still fairly new when I started with the company, and now now our technology is really like a tour yardage book in the palm of your hand, electronic yardage book in the palm of your hand, with all the information that it gives you. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's just, if you've never had the pleasure of experiencing the Sky Caddie products, you need to first off go on the website and just check out, because it's very robust, the website, and giving you a lot of information. And then you've got to make a point of purchasing one of the products, and we'll talk about a few of the things that are on there, because it's just, I mean, the technology is just, I mean, first class. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff out in the market. You guys do it right, and I think I'm going to know the answer to the next question. What do you love most about your job?
Well, I wish it was playing golf, but I work for a golf company, so that doesn't means I don't get to play a lot of golf. But
Right.
um, You know, the really fun thing about some of the things I get to do is, I do get to go out and meet a lot of people and talk to a lot of people about Sky Caddy, show them the product, show them how it works. I go to several golf tournaments. I go to a lot of retail stores,
Mhm.
and do a lot of things like that. So that's probably one of the funnest things that I get to do. One of the other fun things is when we get new product. I'm one of the people that get to go out on the course and test it. So I see it before a lot of the people see it, and I get to put my hands on it and push all the buttons and try to make it break and do all that fun stuff. But yeah, that's probably the two biggest things of my job that I really enjoy is being out in the as not really as the face of Sky Caddy, because actually I have a face for radio, um,
Right.
but
I
uh,
hear you, brother. I hear you. Me too. So I'm right there with you.
But being out there and seeing the people and talking to people, talking to golfers, listening to what they have to say about maybe products that they're using, and then what can Sky Caddy do for them in their golf game and things along those lines. So it's a really fun thing to do.
One of the things I just want to mention, about you that really impressed me at the PGA show is, and I, obviously had the pleasure of walking around to a lot of different booths and some competitors and things like that. But one thing that really impressed me about you, Clay, is not just the knowledge that you have of the product and what's behind the product, but just the passion. A lot of times when you're going, and again, I understand that's what it's there for, but when you go to the PGA show, it's really, not just so much about promoting the product, but you're there to expose it to a lot of buyers and things like that. But you take a lot of pride in what you do, and that's why I asked you what you love most about your job, because there's a lot of passion in what you say, and that's very rare in any business, but particularly in what you guys do, because a lot of guys kind of mouth and they read all the specs and they tell you that it has this and XYZ, and that's great. I can get a brochure and do the same thing, or I can go online and do the same thing. But you actually took the time, as I said, unfortunately to me, in my fumbleness with technology, we weren't able to get it recorded, but I'm going to get it next time so that people understand what I'm talking about. But
Right.
you really took the time to really go through each thing and explain why this is important and how it benefits the golfers. It's not just, hey, this looks cool and look at this. It's really about how this is going to benefit the end user. So before we get into, I guess, specific details, give us just maybe the scoop, if you would, behind the technology that we're about to talk about. What's behind
Okay.
it?
So our two new devices, which is the Pro 5X and the Pro 4X, which has just been released, that you'll be getting one hopefully next week.
Yep.
Um, the only really difference between the two is one has a 5.5 inch screen, one has a 4 inch screen. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you can, it's going to be kind of hard for you to maybe see them, but I actually have them
Perfect.
here. So
Yeah.
um,
Perfect.
you can see both of those. What the user interface on all of our product is pretty much exactly the same. So whether you're using one of our watches or even one of our handhelds, the menu's the same, right? So the buttons are going to work the same. The graphics are going to look the same, right?
Mhm.
So and we have customers who use both. They'll have a watch and they'll have a handheld, because those cart days, you know cart path only days, when they
Yeah.
they'll have their watch with them instead of carrying the device for them.
Right.
So um, those are cool. Now, the new series, the Pro series, okay, they have the newest GPS engine and the newest GPS antennas in them. Okay, um, along with the way we map a golf course, which actually we send mappers to a golf course with GPS grade equipment, right? And
Mhm.
they will walk the golf course from the golfer's perspective. Can't get a golfer's perspective from a satellite view, right?
Right.
Because you can't see all the little sways and the fairways and stuff like that from a satellite view. But if you're walking the same ground that a golfer walks, and looking at it from a golfer's perspective, you can see all those undulations. You can see where's the best place to possibly hit your drive to, right? And leave
Right.
it in to go into that green for the next shot. Okay. And that's one of the things that we really tout on doing. So when our mappers are mapping a course, the equipment they use is sub-meter accurate. So when they mark a point, they're on that point. Now you move that down to our devices, and the devices are the same way. These devices, 95% of the time, we're within a yard to 3 yards of where you actually are.
Okay.
Okay. And people say, well, what's the difference between using one of your devices and say my iPhone? Okay. Well, the
Mhm.
GPS engine in your iPhone is not meant for golf.
Right.
It's meant for car navigation, right? So in car navigation, if they get you to within 100 or 200 yards of the address you're looking for, you're going to find it.
Right. Right.
100 yards, even 50 yards on a golf course, you're
Yes.
talking 5 clubs
Right.
difference,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Yep.
So that's one of the biggest deterrents, I guess, from people using. Oh, I'm just going to use my iPhone. It's close enough. Well, is 50 yards really close enough?
Yeah.
I would say no. So
Yeah.
um, you
Yeah. And
look
that
like
makes
you're about to ask me a question.
Yeah, I was
So
just going to say that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. I didn't apologize for cutting you off, but
that's
no, it
okay.
makes a lot of sense because I mean, you can get a lot. I know there's a lot of apps that you can put on your phone and you can do this and that. But again, um, and certainly I'm sure some of them are fairly accurate as well. But you're right. You're out in the golf course, and if you're somewhere between 1 to 3 yards, that's a huge difference as opposed to 40 or 50 or 100 yards. That's again, it could be a 5 club difference. So you need to have that accuracy. So the technology is important, and it needs to be accurate because again, you're needing to gather the information. It brings me to my next question, and that is, what is driving this? Why do you think? Is it the players just wanting more information at their fingertips? Is that really what's driving this?
There are some people who want so much information, and that's one of we showed you even last year the super tags that we were coming out with, right?
Yeah.
That even gives people more information on their golf swing, right? Not only does it does game tracking, but it breaks down every swing, measuring 15 different data points at 5 different times in the swing, right? And you can turn some of those off, or only see what you want to see. But um, and also does putting. So that's even more data that people want to see. I mean, you a lot of golfers now, you can say, "Hey, what's your swing speed and ball speed on your driver?" And most of them can tell you because they've been to a launch monitor or they have some way of measuring that, and they've committed that to memory, right? So then that's just data. That's just driven data. But if the data is not accurate, it does nobody any good.
Right.
So that's why we use these commercial grade GPS antennas, GPS engines, and then the way we map for the accuracy, because we know accuracy matters. Um, we even the Pro Series now is even being used in the Legends Tour in the UK, which is the
Right.
seniors tour over there, right?
Right. Right.
They use our devices over there on tour, and I've talked to several of those guys at the different senior PGA championships that I've been to that come across the pond to play in those events, and they're like, "Look, it I don't even have to think about things anymore. Because if I'm on a par 5 and I say I want to hit my drive, 290 yards down the fairway, and then that leaves me X amount in, then I can say, well, I don't want to risk it because there's a lot of bunkers up there. I can say now I want to leave myself a 60-yard shot from where I'm at in the fairway. So from where I am to leave myself 60 yards, I only have to hit the ball 180 yards, and then I go 60 yards into the pin, right?
Mhm.
So it helps them strategize very quickly without having to do a bunch of numbers
Yeah.
while they're there and wasting time. So it allows them to play faster also.
Yeah, and that's important, especially at that level, because you're talking, if you're number 1, 2 player, let's say in the pack, and all of a sudden you make some bad choices and you're 4 or 5, that's a lot of money. That's a big swing in
Right.
money in golf
Absolutely.
swing. So I mean, these guys are playing, but again, for the regular guys out there that want what I really like about what this technology has done is, again, it gives them um, a lot of information that is useful. And something interesting that you said, you talked about, and I know what you were alluding to, but you can go to simulators, or you can go in to see your pro, and maybe they're running TrackMan or something like that, and you can get that. But our swings change from week to week, and our distances change from week to week as well. So I really like
Absolutely.
the tags system because you might be, cranking that thing out, your driver out one distance last week, your swing speed might have been this and so forth. But then this week, maybe you didn't eat your Wheaties or something in the morning, and you
Right.
don't have the same strength, and it could be a lot different. So it's nice to have that data in real time, as opposed to waiting till you go and see your pro or next time you visit the simulator to get the information. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's nice to have that. And which brings me to this: is I want to talk about, which is I know what you're alluding to here, and that is Sky Golf's GameTrax 360 system. I want you to unpack that for us. What is it? And what specifically does it do, and how do the players benefit from it? So this is what you're talking about, the tags.
You can barely see that tag right there, probably on the end of my club.
Yeah. So
Right.
that screws into the
That screws into
hand.
the end of the club. All right. There's a coin battery in there that's user replaceable. The battery should last probably 2 years
Right.
of pretty good playing. Okay. Now, like I said earlier, what that tag does, and you have a tag on every club in your bag,
Mhm.
from driver to putter. I even got my putter here. I don't know if you can
Yep.
really see it there
Yep.
on my putter. Now, for these Super Stroke grips, we have, the putter has a little insert there. I don't know if you can really see that,
I can
but
see it
you
now.
have to take the weight out and then put the insert in, and then the tag literally just screws right on top. So it makes
Perfect.
it very easy. So, but the cool thing is about these devices is they track your game, hence the GameTrax, right?
Mhm.
And they'll tell you, okay, excuse me, on number one hole, you pulled your driver and you hit driver. Let's say you hit driver 260 yards, and your swing speed was 123 miles an hour. Just kind of throwing some numbers out there, right? And then at that point, you're in the fairway, right? And then from the fairway there, let's say you hit 8-iron to the green, you hit your 8-iron, 150 yards, and your swing speed was 90 miles an hour.
Right.
Okay. And then when you get there to start putting, you can actually set the pin to where the cup is. And then as you putt, it'll track your putts into the cup. Let me see if I can actually show you some other things in here. It may be hard to see.
Yeah, it's
So,
amazing. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if you can actually see this or not, but
Yeah, right there.
can you? Okay. So you can see it tells me all the different types of information. And then right here, it shows that there's a three-dimensional breakdown of my swing, right?
Yes. Yep.
So I can tap on that and enlarge that. And then I can move this around. Sorry, I have to turn it to kind of see what I'm doing.
Yeah, no,
But
that's
I
fine.
can move that, right? And then I can also play this. And I can see my swing in three
That's good.
dimensions. Okay. I can stop it at certain points and I can see what those measurements are. Like if I'm where's my club halfway coming down? What's the face angle? Is it open? Is it closed? My club shaft, is it inside, outside? The preferred line. Any of that information, I can get all that kind of information in here. So that there allows me to track my game a little bit better. Now, what we don't want people doing is setting when they're playing golf. We don't want people looking at every single swing they take
Oh.
in between golf shots, right? Because
Right.
now all you're going to do is you're going to slow everybody down,
Of
right?
course.
So at the end of your round, you can simply hit sync round, and it will Wi-Fi sync your device up to your Sky Golf 360 account, and all the information will be then in your account, and you can go into your account and you can look at all this information. It's also going to tell you strokes gained, strokes lost on certain holes based on what your handicap is or what your handicap goal is that you set. So if say you're a 15 handicap and you're trying to make to be a 10, you can set to where you want to be a 10 handicap, and it'll show you your game progression to get to that 10 handicap the way you're playing right now.
Wow.
It's also great information. If you're taking lessons, you can take it to your instructor and say, look, and you can show him your swing in three dimensions. Say, look, I've got a really bad habit of really on the downswing. I'm really inside, and I get myself caught, and then you're kind of just flipping it over at that point and not really swinging the club freely. And you can show him that information. You can You can the abundance of information it gives you is really really crazy. So it's a really neat thing.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of players nowadays want to have access to information. I mean, you have to be careful too that, like you said, when you're out in the golf course, you don't want to be, you're there to play, you're there to have fun, you're there to enjoy yourself.
Right.
So if I understand everything correctly, so then these tags are basically recording that information, and then when everything gets synced later on, it's basically uploading to your account, your 360 account, so
Hmm.
then you can see all the data. And you said that you can show or share that with your coach. Is there a way currently, or is this something that maybe I'm spilling the beans early here? Is there going to be a way, if it's not available now, that a player that has a dedicated coach that they can somehow get into? Not, I don't want to say sign into their account, but they can, through some sort of a connection, that they can instantly send that once they've uploaded it to their account, send it to their coach.
That might be something that we're looking at too in the future. At the moment, the only way you could
Not
do it was you'd have to send them your username and password for them to look
right,
and
right, right,
log into if you wanted to see them all the data.
right,
Now,
right.
one of the other great things that the super tags will do is this way. I am taking a lesson and say we're working on mid irons
Hmm.
in that lesson, and I hit a 6 iron, the purest I've ever hit it, and your coach says that's how I want you to swing your mid irons right there. I can then save that swing as a favorite swing, and
Got it.
then I can go and overlay other swings to that, so I can see where those other swings are. You know,
Compare it.
out of bounds is a bad terminology, but out of whack, so to speak. Where am I getting, where am I losing track of that groove that I had with this 6 iron when I was with the instructor versus now? And then you can almost self teach yourself or self correct yourself and move forward that way. So it's really a crazy awesome concept that we're using.
Well, and it is valuable information to the player. I mean, obviously, it's always, I think, good to work with a coach, but at the same time, it's valuable information because a lot of times, if you're maybe going every couple of weeks to see your coach, and he or she has given you some drills to work on and things like that, and you're out there and you make a pure swing out in the range. Let's say you hit a beautiful 6 iron, like you said, and you want to know how you've done that. Of course, you can record that, save it to your favorites, and then next time you get together with your coach for a lesson, you guys can review that. And then, as you said, you can overlay some of the bad ones that maybe you did during that session with him, and then you can compare it. And he can say, okay, this is the good one over here. Here's 2 or 3 other swings that you've done here, and here's what the problem is. And now we're going to try to work on it to get you swinging like that all the time. That's valuable
Correct.
information because what a lot of golfers end up doing, and I know this as a coach, when they're not with you, you know, and we realize life happens, you're busy doing other things, you're not always going to get up to the range, you're not going to work that. But having those points and those data entry points that are valuable information is things that you can look at when you're at home. You don't need to be up at the golf course. You can look at that on your phone, or you can, check it online or on your, on your computer, what have you. And you can assess that information and look at it and say, okay, here's some areas that parts of my game that I'm really struggling with, and here's parts that I'm really happy with. And that information gives your coach then an opportunity to look at that and say, okay, yeah, I agree with that. That's some areas that you're struggling with. Let's put a game plan together to pick those numbers back up and
Right.
make it so that they're more uniform. And so that's where it comes in. Where it does have the problem is, unfortunately, everybody gets excited, and I mean, I've just got my cell phone, but they're looking at it, and they're holding the foursome up behind you, and next thing you know, golf balls are flying over their heads. So
Hmm. Hmm.
there's a time and a place for it. But I like the fact that that information is then stored and then can be accessed at a later point when it's appropriate. And I think this GameTrax 360 system is just in my opinion, when it comes to instruction and also from a player standpoint, is a game changer. Now, you mentioned very early on about a new product. You mentioned about the 5X, but now you've got the Pro 4X Sky Caddie coming out. Is that officially out now? Is it been released out now?
It's officially out. You can order it right now on the website.
Okay. That's a new release. How does it differ from some of the other models that you guys have had in the past? So what's new about this that you guys are jazzed up about?
Well, the Pro 4X, it'll work with the Super Tags, so it's
Okay.
Super Tag ready. Okay. The other part is it's got all the newest GPS engine, and just like the Pro 5X, it's got
Okay.
the new GPS engine, the new GPS antenna. It's got the upgraded Bluetooth antenna in it, different things like that to make it better, faster, smarter than previous devices.
Okay.
So, kind of almost like building a $6 million man.
Right.
Stronger, faster, smarter. But yeah, it's new. It's just been released within the last couple weeks, and we're super excited about it.
And again, really, it's essentially, if I understood you correctly, it's essentially just a little bit smaller version of the 5X, right?
It is. It's a 4-inch screen versus the five and a
Okay.
half inch screen. So
That's pretty much the only difference, then, really, between
that's
the
the only
two.
difference. The
Okay.
UI and everything else is exactly the same.
Now, I'm just curious, why the difference? Why not just stick with the one? Why did you want to come out with one that was a little bit smaller, just
There are some people who don't like
the bigger
the
screen?
5X is too big, right?
Okay.
Um, they say it doesn't fit in their pocket too well. They get it confused with their cell phone because it's about the same size as an
Right.
iPhone, right? It doesn't. We've had people say, "Oh, it doesn't fit in the cup holder very well," right? The 4X fits in a
Right.
cup holder great, slides in your pocket great. Um, we also have cart mounts, of course, that you can mount it to the side of your cart with. Um, so you know, everybody wants something a little different. You cannot. There's no way possible you can mistake this for your cell phone because
Right.
I don't know of any cell phone that is this small that looks anything like this anymore. So,
No.
um, but yeah, we're really, really happy about it.
Yeah. No.
Very
It's
excited about
fantastic.
it.
And you said too, that of course you got the watch as well. You had that on your wrist, and so does that work in conjunction? So let's say, for argument's sake, would it be an either or situation? The reason I'm trying to clarify so that the audience knows. So if I didn't want to, I could bring both, right? I could bring the 4X, and then I could also have a watch. Do they sync together?
No, they don't sync together. They
Okay, so
work.
they're
They work
independent.
independently
Okay,
apart. Now the watch is not GameTrax, Swing
gotcha.
Tracks ready at all yet. Uh, that may be something in the future that we're coming out with later on. A
But I
watch
can
that will work
operate
with
both,
those.
right? But I
You
could
can operate
operate.
absolutely, absolutely. You can
So in other
operate
words,
both.
I could leave the bigger unit, the 4X, let's say, in my cart, which is, um, and in other words, it's going to be connected with the tags, right? So I'm still
Yes,
getting the advantage of the tags, but at the same time, because I've hit a bad shot and I'm now 30 feet or 40 feet or whatever from the cart, I've got my watch that I can get the yardages that I need. It's just not going to sit up with the tag. But because I have the bigger unit, the tag will then basically sync with that one, right? Not
you
the
know,
watch, the 4X.
right. So wherever the 4X is, that's where the tag is going to think your golf ball is. So if
Oh,
you've got to walk across the fairway and your
okay. You got
car
to take
path
it with.
only, you're going to take you want to take the device with you to mark it, or later on when you sync the device, you can always edit that shot and move it
Gotcha.
on the
Okay,
golf
so
course
the
if need
tag,
be.
even though the tag is in the club and that's what I'm trying to understand. So even
Yes,
though the tag is in the club and you're standing out in the middle of the fairway, but your cart's 20 feet, to the
yes,
left and
it,
the
it
right,
will it will still read it.
it will read it. But it's going to base the reading from where the 4X unit is, not where the tag is, correct?
Correct, because that's what the GPS engine is going into the unit. The tag, it does not have GPS in it.
Gotcha. Okay, so you need to have the big. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that people
Yeah,
understood that, so that
absolutely.
because I don't want somebody misunderstand and think, okay, it's not a big deal. I can leave it in the cart and I can go over here because the tag's picking up all the data, and that there would be a discrepancy. So I just want to make sure people understood that. So what do you find from when you're speaking with or getting feedback from customers? What are uh, some of the majority of, I guess, if you would take an average of comments, what are people looking for when they're reaching out to you guys? And I'm not talking about your customer service and things like that. I'm just talking about what is some of the feedback that you're getting from your customers as far as not just the technology, but what it does. Or are they saying, I'd like to see more of this in an updated model or something? What's been some of the
We
feedback?
we really haven't had anybody say they want to see more of really anything because we give people
Yeah,
a
it's
ton of
robust.
information already.
Yeah.
Um, we've had some really incredible compliments on how the system is working now with the tags and the devices. Um, we've had I was down at the Villages um, early April for their golf fest,
Okay.
and I had one of our customers came up to me, um, and he said, "I just want to tell you that the Pro 5X and the Super Tags are the best thing that's ever happened to my golf game." And he went through and was telling me about how he was using them and tracked his round, and then went home and watched it and said, "Okay, one of the things I want to work on is my club head speed." So he went in and did a grooving session, which is we have them in there, right? A groove session is a way to improve things like swing speed or take away length or shaft lean at impact, but all kinds. But you can groove your swing because we all know a golf swing is nothing more than muscle memory, right?
Right. Mhm.
So I can go through and I can set these parameters in here to say, okay, I want my swing speed to be on my 7-iron to be within this parameter, right? Whatever that parameter may be. Say it's between 75 and 82 miles an hour, right?
Yep.
So every time I swing that club, if I'm in that zone, it gives me a little green check and a right. So I'm like, cool, good. If I get, you know, if I do well enough in that groove, it'll move me to the next level, which then that cone shrinks a little bit more. So my
Right.
swing speed, I can get closer and closer to the actual swing speed that I want to get to, right? And again, that's all through muscle memory. So you can do the groove sessions with the club tags too in your units, and it's really. But he says I got my swing speed up to where I wanted it with my clubs. He goes, I went back out the next day. He goes, I shot one of the best 9-hole rounds I've shot in the last 15 years.
Right.
He goes, that's all due to your tags.
That's fantastic.
He goes, because I had no way of measuring it without those tags. And so we've got some from some of his quotes and stuff that he gave us. We put some up on our website and stuff like
Oh yeah.
that because he's just absolutely loving them. And we've had a lot of other people say the same thing. This me tracking my game and knowing when I hit a bad shot that I can mark it down on my scorecard to look at shot 3 on hole 4. You know,
Right.
I can go back and then after my round, I can look at that shot and I can almost pick it out. Why that shot went array, or why
Right.
did I hit it fat or thin or whatever? I can see it because then I can do self correction and work it out on my own. So that's a lot of the feedback we're getting. Never really had a problem with the accuracy of the device or things that people want to see more on the device. The device does so much more than any other device on the market.
Yeah.
One thing, and I think I remember telling you this when you were there. One thing all of our devices do that no other device in the market can do is our green. Our green can rotate based on your angle of approach coming in. So if I'm playing and I hit a shot far left and I end up in the middle of number three's fairway instead of number one's fairway, that green will rotate and show me my true front, middle, back coming in for where I'm at.
Right.
So I'll have true numbers. If the green doesn't rotate, you're not going to get true numbers from any other
Right.
device out there. So
Right.
that's
And if you got things like bunkers or things like that as well, that now you have to factor in because you've mishit something. No, that. I mean, that the information is vital. What I really like about it, I want to go back to what this gentleman that down the Villages had said to you, and this really came to my thoughts here. From a coach's perspective, one of the biggest pet peeves is how do we motivate people to want to go out and practice? Because everybody says, well, practice is boring. Yeah, I like hitting my driver because I can hit it pretty good, but I don't like doing all the other stuff. But it sounds to me really what you guys have done is created a motivation by giving them that information and giving them that good feedback that encourages people to want to go out and practice, so they want to know what their numbers are. They want to know, they want to see what that golf swing looks like in a 3D format, and they want to see, all of this other data and be able to then create a plan that then gives them something to work towards. Like you said, when you talked about the parameters and things like that. And to me, from a coach's perspective, because that's hard. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it from a lot of coaches. That's one of the big pet peeves that we have is, okay, we've got a great lesson. They're focused on everything and that, but then we don't see them for 2 weeks. And well, Bob, what'd you do for 2 weeks? Well, I didn't get a chance to get out the range. I did that. And, I'll be honest, I don't really enjoy working on this part of my game because it's not very, much fun or whatever. And they get drilled to death, they get drilled to death. So from this gentleman's perspective that you were talking about a few moments ago, now he's kind of jazzed up and excited because he's seeing in real time how his results can change with a little bit of work, but he's seeing it in your platform, the results and the changes.
Correct.
So now he's able to, and it could be 2 weeks before he sees his coach. Now he can go back. He's excited. Say, hey, coach, I've been working on this and that for the last couple of weeks. Here's how the numbers have changed from when you saw me the last time. And remember, we were trying to get into that range. And hey, guess what? I'm in that range now. So that gives, again, great feedback to the coach, and it gets them, the player, pretty excited about wanting to go out and work on some of these things because, again, they can adjust the parameters to basically handle whatever it is they need to be working on. So that's going to be a positive thing for you guys as well to hear customers say that.
Right. It is. And my thing is, it gives people, like you said earlier, it gives them a reason to practice.
Yeah. Trust me.
Okay. If you're my coach and you tell me, Clay, look, I need you to go do this, right? And if I'm out there just banging balls and have no way of seeing, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I doing what the coach told me to do? Because, okay, the ball may be flying in the air and I may have, it may look good to me, but there still may be some small flaw in there that I don't see.
Right.
But now I can see it, right? With the tags, I can see it, right?
Right.
So to me, it gives people a reason to practice. It motivates people to practice. I am the world's worst about putting. I think putting practice is boring.
It
I
is.
really do. Nobody
It is.
likes to practice putting, right? But now with a tag, I can actually see what my putting stroke is doing. And if I make a change, I can see it. And when I can see it, I can see it in the results, right? Real quick story.
Sure.
We had a couple guys at the office when we were testing tags. We'll say late winter, early spring, we were testing some tags. And the guys come in and they were like, there's something wrong with this tag because it's telling me that on my backstroke on my putter that I pull the putter to the inside. He goes, I don't pull my putter. There's no way possible I pull my putter to the inside.
Right.
Well, we got two 2x4s and set them up there. Guess what happened when the first pullback? Inside 2x4 fell over. Why? Because
Right.
he pulled his putter inside.
Right.
Right. But he swore up and down he didn't do that. Right. But by seeing it and then proving it to him, he now knows how to kind of fix that issue. We had another guy who on his downstroke he lifted up a little bit and you could see a hump in his forward swing in his putter. You could see a hump. And we actually got down on the ground and videoed his putter, and you could actually see his putter coming across and raising up. And he was topping all of his putts, and he didn't know why. Well, if he didn't have a tag to show that hump, he wouldn't have figured it out as quickly. So some of those simple little things like that, and then the reward you see on people's face, wow, that's incredible. It's really, really cool on how all that works.
Now, let me ask you from a professionals level, because obviously that gives them information. Because again, they're not always, they're traveling. A lot of them are traveling the country or even the world. And even though they have instant access in many cases to a coach, they're obviously taking advantage of this technology now because it gives them in real time the information they need. Is there going to be a day? Because I know some stuff is what I say legal in tournament and that. Is there going to be a day where all of this is going to be legal in tournaments? Is it going to be moving towards that? I mean, I know some of them are, you're seeing the range finders and things
Right.
like that, but do you see a time and maybe
that's some different things that we're going to have to talk to the USGA and the RNA and the PGA about. So I'm sure those are future discussions that are coming. because people are. If I was a pro player, I would love to have these tags on my clubs, and at the end of my day, go back and review my entire round and say, okay, I know on hole 3 on that par 5 that my second shot that I was hitting to a layup point was a little, you know, I didn't hit the shot that I wanted. So let me go back and look at that shot and see. Right. And so I can go back and look at it and see if I can pull it out of the data of what did I do wrong. And, okay, well, I see that I was a little bit too far on the inside on my downswing. So, that's what caused me to, do an inside out swing and cause the ball to do what it did. So, okay, case in point, now I know what I've done wrong. So,
You know, I
I can see that in the future.
yeah, I, I see also in the future, and again, I was thinking of this while you were giving that explanation. Where the day is going to come, because from a fan's perspective, I mean, we've seen now for the last several years, Top Tracer has their technology out
Right.
there, and everybody sees that basically the shape of the shot. I mean, I think you're going to see the day in real tournament where you'll see a split screen where you'll see the golfer taking his the real swing, and then you're going to see the image that you showed me the audience earlier, where you're going to see a digital version, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, of the player, of the actual swing, and the numbers are going to pop up, because that to me is going to be interesting for the fans to see. I mean, and I know it's different than what we've been used to growing up, as when we were younger, as tournament golf, but that's where the future is. I think where a lot of kids, or I shouldn't say kids, but young guys are interested in this stuff.
Right.
And, they don't want to just watch the guy walking from hole to hole. They want to see, and, people got jazzed up when Top Tracer came out. I can see something like along the lines of Sky Caddie, seeing that in tournaments where that data is going to be popped up on the screen. And on the other side, you're going to see the player hitting the shot, and now all of those numbers are going to come up in real time. I see that integration happening on tour events, maybe not in the next 5 years, but certainly maybe within the next 10 years, because you're seeing that digital environment is becoming more and more prevalent in so many other areas of our lives. I think golf is going to have to move in that direction to keep the game interesting. What do you think on that?
Correct. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. There are some things that some of the traditions in golf, I think golf is going to have to change in the future.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, but yeah, that to me, that would be incredible to watch a guy, like you say, swing, and then watch the data pop up right next to it, and it shows you, you know, his launch angle, his swing speed, club head speed, and then where was the club head halfway back, right?
Right.
Was it open, closed? Was the inside, outside? That would be crazy amount of data for people to see. And then as everybody mimics a favorite golfer, they mimic their swing, right? And that
Mhm.
would just give you even more points to where you could mimic somebody else's swing by knowing where they are at certain points of their swing. So
Well, I think it also make it more interesting for the announcers in the tower, give them something to talk about instead of guessing all the time. A lot
right.
of times they're saying, "Well, so and so did this and so did that," and I know that there are some good guys. Don't get me wrong; I'm not trying to put them down, but having that information like that available on the screen where everybody can see, I mean, that gives them their points. They can just go through and say, "Yeah, look, he did this or he did that or she did this or did that." So, I mean, I see that being becoming an integral part of golf moving forward. I mean, technology is here to stay. It's fascinating. It's interesting. It right now, of course, it has its place, and you've got to know how to use it properly. And it's interesting to get excited about it. But again, it's something that you want to be able to again put it in proper context. But I think it's just a matter of time. I think you're going to see in the next few years the R&A and the USGA and that are going to have to make some changes, because I think
Right.
in order to keep the fan base, because the younger generation coming up that are getting into golf, they're all technology driven. That's what they're
Absolutely.
looking for. And, if you don't have that, then it becomes boring to them. So, us older guys, that grew up in the traditional golf, I mean, I love it. I mean, I think it's great and exciting to see. We've had to adapt to different things, and I think we're going to see that technology. I know that this obviously a lot of the products that you have require a subscription, correct?
Correct. They do.
Okay. Talk about what the subscribers get for commitment? Because that's obviously, is it a monthly commitment or is it annual?
It's the annual
Okay.
subscription. Now, any device that you buy new, you get a first year's free. So you get
Okay.
your first year free, and then after that, you can do a birdie, which is for the state that you play in. You can do an eagle, which is for the entire United States, or you can do double eagle, which is for the entire world. We got over 35,000 golf courses worldwide in our database that somebody
Wow.
has went and walked, right? In the
Oh,
20 plus years of being in the market, you can get some golf courses under your belt. So, but yeah, so what does that membership do, right?
okay. Yep.
Um, Membership does several things. It still allows us to go out and map golf courses from a golfer's perspective, like we do, right?
Mhm.
It allows us um, to pay for all the storage of all this data now that we have coming in, right? Because you got people who keep saving their scorecards and now swings and all that kind of stuff. So all that stuff takes storage room, right? So it helps pay for that storage room also,
Sure.
and it
Yeah.
helps us build future products that are out there. So, you know, almost everything now is subscription based,
Sure.
one way or the other.
Yep.
Um, so that's why we are what we are. So, and the customer gets some really good deals. You get like you get a golf magazine for a year. We got some subscription where you get some free Bridgestone golf balls,
Right.
stuff
Some
like
additional.
that. So we do make it to where we're making it worth the customer's while. We're also working with some partnerships with some other golf companies to where they'll give our customers discounts on their products,
Mhm.
and you'll see that coming out very soon.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think it's so important to work together in our industry. I mean, that's one of the nice things about, when you go down to, as we talked about earlier, the PGA show. There's so many great organizations that you can partner with that have a little something that they can offer, and vice versa. And I think that golf is a very, I mean, what was interesting, out of this a few years ago when we went into the pandemic. As tragic as it was for many people, it was a big shot in the arm for the golf industry because
Absolutely.
it brought a lot of change and in many cases needed change. And it opened a market that really was not there before. And, typically when people thought of golf, they thought of the typical country club and that sort of thing, or maybe the resorts. But now they're seeing that there's so much available. And with the onslaught of technology, this younger generation, as I said, is really, jazzed up about it. And I know when I when I get a chance to go to the golf course and I see these young kids, they're looking at their watches, they're looking at this, they're looking at that. And I have seen some Sky Caddies out there. So I know there's some guys in my area. And so, I mean, they're really excited about that technology and wanting to learn from it. And I really like what you talked about earlier about how they can utilize it. It's not just about giving the numbers, but how they can actually take those numbers and create a game plan on how to improve their game. And that's really what it's all about, is the better you can play and the more fun you're going to have. And if you guys can marry that technology, in the teaching side of things, and not just with the coaches, but with the players themselves, to be able to learn from that and make adjustments as they need it, I think it's just a fantastic thing. So if people want to get more information, where can they go? And is there any specials coming up? We got Father's Day just a few weeks away, and anything cooking
There's a
Seismo?
Father's Day special. I believe it started today. If our memory serves, it starts today or tomorrow. A Father's Day special.
Okay.
Um, I don't exactly know what it is off the top of my head, but the website will tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Skygolf.com.
Okay.
We also have a lot of great videos out there on our website and on our YouTube page. We have a Sky Caddy YouTube page. Um, I don't know if you know who Chris Trott is, Trotty Golf,
Yep.
right? We've teamed up with Trotty, an amazing guy, and he does a lot of our talks to people a lot about Sky Caddy. He does a
Mhm.
lot of explanation videos about super tags and Skycat and this Pro 5X, because that's what he's had, and how it works with the tags, how you can use them in conjunction with each other, things like
Mhm.
that. So there's a lot of information out there, And we're always just a phone call away or a little email from the website away, and somebody will get back in touch with you if you're looking for some information.
Sounds good. All right, I want to thank you very much, Clay, for coming on. I'm going to get you to hang tight for a second as I wrap up, and then
Okay.
we'll get people going to that website one more time, and that's skygolf.com is the website. All of the information there, all of the products that we talked about tonight, and more. And obviously, there's some specials on there. I know for Father's Day because I was on earlier, so you can check that out as well. And there's contact information there as well if you want to reach out to any of the team at Sky Golf. But I want a special thanks to all of my guests this evening. Again, a special thanks to Clint Wright for joining me earlier on the Coaches Corner panel. Thank you, Clint, for always bringing your best to our discussions. I also want to thank Robert Kaufman, the co-host and travel expert, joining me in the middle section of the show on our special travel segment, and our special travel guest, Catherine Sansone, founder of Sansone PR and Marketing. Again, if you want to get more information there, you can visit her website. And then last but not least, but my featured guest tonight, thank you again, Clay Simpson from Sky Golf for joining me. A lot of great stuff, and go to skygolf.com to get more information. And I will see you guys, not next week because I'm going to be off next week, but the week after, I'll be back with another interesting show, another Coaches Corner, and another featured guest of the evening. So I hope you'll join me. God bless everybody and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coaches Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.